Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 16 of the 24 Tour de France, brought to you by Ketone 8. Ketone 8 is what the pros like to drink for quick recovery. It's KE4 for riders like Mark Cavendish and, of course, Remco Evenepoel, who's sitting third on the general classification. If you want the original ester, go for Ketone 8. Save 15% on your next order. Use the code BUTTERFLY. Now let's get into today's stage 16 of the Tour de France. It's going to be one of the last stages for the sprinters, if not the last stage. I don't see anything really left for the sprinters other than today's stage 16. So you know it's going to be a fast and furious final of today's stage. But as we see when the riders hit kilometer zero and we start seeing an attack from Stefan Kuhn going up the road along with Sandy Dujardin, well, we see those two riders. One's going to take a nature break first, that's Stefan Kuhn, and then Total Energy rider's going to follow him with a nature break because they know they need a big break right here. Stefan Kuhn's an experienced rider riding for FDJ, the Swiss rider. He knows they need massive numbers up here if you got any chance of going the distance. With two riders, both these guys pull over a nature break, and we'll see the peloton going curb to curb for a long time. We're going to get under 100 kilometers to go, right about 95K to go, and it's the sprint line competition coming up. We see Intermarché lining it up on the right side. There's 5-6 Intermarché riders there, and Biniam Girmay, of course, on the train there in the back. All of a sudden, it starts getting a little interesting as we see Mathieu van der Poel and his Alpecin de Koenig riders coming up along with Jasper Philipsen, his teammate that's trying to get some sprint points here. They're coming up the right side there. Then they mix up a little bit there with Intermarché, and this is blocking off Biniam Girmay. So once we come up to the sprint, Brian Cocard from Cofidis going to get first, Jasper Philipsen second, Biniam Girmay is going to get fourth. That means there's still some possibilities for the Green Points jersey, although it's a little far-fetched still, but it's still possible. Now after this, we see the next attack that's going up the road. This rider, Total Energy, Thomas Gachignard, he's going up the road, but he's not going to get much of a gap. He's holding 2 minutes, and the peloton back there is being led by Alpecin de Koenig. I'm going to fast forward you guys all the way up to about 45 kilometers ago. If you got up early this morning and you're on the West Coast, you wasted a lot of time because nothing happened except for we got Thomas up there from Total Energy. He's going solo at about 2 minutes. The peloton's getting nervous at about 45. This is when we start seeing some traffic islands coming into play, and we start seeing the GC teams and the sprinter teams all getting up at the front of the peloton, and they're getting a little nervous. We're going to see, of course, UAE team members. We got Visma Lease bike. We got Ineos up there. Quick Step, we're up there for a good portion of this early part here. And then things start getting really interesting. Once we're under about 32, 33 kilometers to go, we start seeing the first problem here for UNOX. That's Soren Vorenskol there. He's one of the lead-out guys for their sprinter, Alexander Kristoff, who's won stages at the Tour de France. With Soren Vorenskol moving over to the side of the road, he's going to change his back wheel. He's going to get pushed, and look how magical and how well-timed the two cars are from UNOX. As the one car changed the back wheel, the next car came up and grabbed on there to Soren Vorenskol and is pulling him to the front. Now, shortly after that, though, we're going to see another UNOX rider on the side of the road, and that's Coolset. Johannes Coolset there is pulling over on the side of the road because he had a crash. We didn't know when you're watching it live because you didn't get to see the crash. But as he's trying to mess with his chain, finally he realizes he needs a new bike, puts his hand up, and Soren Vorenskol comes flying into the picture. Looks like he's just about ready to hit his teammate there, but goes by him. Now what happened? Let's back up the film just a hair, but we got to move it forward to back it up because that's the way they showed us live. Well, we move it forward to back it up, and we'll see Soren Vorenskol coming down the descent into that same left turn that his teammate Coolset had crashed in, and Soren Vorenskol realizes that on the outside of that turn, it's a left turn going out to the right. He needs the whole right lane there, but that's where his teammate Coolset's at. So all of a sudden, Soren Vorenskol is locking up the back brake. He's sliding the back wheel, comes straight up next to his teammate there and clears it, but he's got a camera photographer that's trying to get a picture of his teammate from Coolset that had the crash there. So he's got to clear that guy too, and he clears it. Now the cameras go back, and we start looking at Coolset. His directors, remember, the cars were magical. The way they changed the back wheel there, Soren Vorenskol. But now as we start seeing the magic disappear, there's a little bit of stress, right? The first wheel change is a wheel change at 30 kilometers to go. Director Sportives are calm like a bomb, and they know exactly what to do. But while that was all happening, Coolset had crashed. Now we get the car behind Coolset. His director sportif, as Coolset's climbing onto his next bike there, his director sportif or one of the staff there is giving him a huge push, but he's not even on the bike. This throws him over the side of the bike there. Look at his ankle there as it's almost twisting, because remember, you're wearing cycling shoes. They don't grab the ground good, and they're not completely flat with the cleat at the bottom. So he almost twists his ankle, and then he looks back over at his director or the staff member, and they're like, what are you doing? You're 6'4", probably 200 pounds. I'm 140 pounds here. You just pushed me off the bike. Well, they get him on the bike. They give him a good push, and then all of a sudden, Coolset's going. If you're sitting on the Chesterfield like me, you're like, well, that was entertaining, but now the magic and the interesting part here is probably over. Well, it's not over yet for Coolset. As we see Coolset all of a sudden coming into the roundabout, we see him going a different direction from the white medical car. The medical car is going one direction, Coolset's going the other. You're like, what happened? Okay, let's move the film forward, but back it up in real time, because they missed what happened. We got Coolset on the bumper coming into this roundabout as his director sportif. Remember, they've been a little bit nervous. Now they've changed two riders' wheels and bikes, and then they've had one teammate almost crash into another teammate. Now they're coming in the roundabout. Coolset sitting on the bumper tight. They come into the roundabout. It's supposed to be a kind of a straight through, slightly to the right roundabout. As they come in, they start making the left around the roundabout. Well, they were supposed to exit right there. You see all the fans as they line the street going there off to the right side of the road. Well, the director sportif car does not exit, and neither does the rider. He's directly on the bumper. Now look at the next picture. Their second car's coming through the roundabout, and they almost hit each other. As we see Coolset there on the bumper, the director sportif must have been panicking at this moment. He's gonna, if he hits the brakes, he's gonna crash his rider behind. If he doesn't hit the brakes, the two cars are gonna come together. Well, they luckily pull this out by the skin of their teeth as both cars miss each other. Then Coolset does a roundabout right in the roundabout. Instead of going around the roundabout, he does a U-turn. Once he does the U-turn, that's why we saw the white medical car go in one direction and Coolset go in the other. Well, Coolset gets going in the right direction here in the course. It's about 27 kilometers to go. He's got another team car in front of him from Bismarck bike pacing him. Then later we're going to see Coolset hopping over the center of the island so he can keep speed as he's chasing the front of the peloton that's going curb to curb with big time speed. Now we start coming into where the peloton from that full gas are going curb to curb. They're going to wrap up Thomas up there from Total Energy. So now everyone's racing for the stage. After he gets wrapped up, we see Coolset at the back of the peloton. He made it through all the chaos. Crashed, almost got hit again by his teammate, almost got crashed by his teammate, probably almost got hit by the medical car when he's doing a U-turn, had to jump some islands, chase back on, but now he's at the same time as the peloton's doing right now, and we're coming under 18 kilometers to go. As we get into this section, it's still curb to curb at the front. We start looking at two of the GC favorites, first and third on the general classification, Tadej Pogačar, Remco Evenepoel. They're at the back of the peloton now. Why are they at the back? Well, they don't have to worry. There's no more reason to stress for Tadej Pogačar. He's got a 3-minute gap. If he keeps his teammates close by him, something happens. The most he can lose is 30 seconds here. If he stays up in the front and crashes, the most he can lose, well, that's the Tour de France. So this is wise riding here from the yellow race leader jersey right now, Tadej Pogačar, sitting in the back, always with 4 or 5 bike lengths in front of him to be prepared in case there's a crash, and teammates could always chase him back on. You're not going to lose much time. But up front, it's curb to curb and nervous, and we still got a couple GC teams up there. We're coming under 10 kilometers to go, and it's 10 wide right now. We get under 7.5 kilometers to go. Bismarck bike's got control of the peloton, but they're not going to have it for very long because they're going to start to get swarmed at 7K. From 7K into 5, it's curb to curb. At 5, it's about 5 wide, so it's a little bit less chaos, but it's still chaos out there right now on stage 16 of the Tour de France. Now we start getting into 3 kilometers to go. It's still 5 wide. We start getting into 2.5. Now things are starting to get a little more straightened out on what we're going to predict to see here coming at the finish of stage 16 of the Tour de France, as we got 2 teams on the front. We got Uno X. They got 5 riders on the front. That's Magnus Cort Nielsen on the front with the blue mustache today. He had to color it. And then when we look over to the right, it's my man Victor Campenaerts from Lotto Destiny. He's riding the front. He's got his teammate behind him. So you know Arnaud Delis close by. As these 2 teams are taking control of the peloton, they're coming under 2 kilometers to go. It's still the 2 teams at the front. But if I back it up just a hair, we'll see Alpecin de Koenig started flying up the left side. My man Victor Campenaerts pulling off on the right there. And we'll see Magnus Cort Nielsen as he realizes that Alpecin's coming up the left side. He's going to move all the way over to the left there and block off Alpecin de Koenig, but he's still got 4 teammates behind him. It's Rasmus Tiller there. It's grabbing a little bit of wind as Magnus Cort Nielsen's trying to hold up the Alpecin de Koenig train. Now they'll come back together as they're flying through a couple turns. We're coming up to about 1.7, 1.6 kilometers to go. It's a roundabout. Now, as they're coming in the roundabout, let me back the film just before the entrance of the roundabout. As we look down from the helicopter angle, Biniam Girmay is back there, and I'll call him about 25th, 30th spot back there. He's quite a ways back, and they're coming into the roundabout. Once they come into the roundabout, they hit the midway point. Well, Biniam Girmay is not going to make it out of the roundabout as the air train's going to crash. He said later afterwards that he bumped bars with what he believed was EF Education rider. I don't think it was. Maybe it's archaic, but I don't think it was EF Education. But both Biniam Girmay and the EF Education rider both went down hard and crashed. So the sprinters are both out for Intermarché's Biniam Girmay, and EF Education there, Vandenberg, he's out too as he went down with Bini. Now, we got to back the film up just a hair more. We got to see it one more time coming in the entrance because this is super important. You had X on the front, Magnus Cort Nielsen flying through this roundabout. But you had Alpecin de Koenig coming up the left side, and they're fighting for position. Once they went into the roundabout, while we watched Biniam Girmay, and you focus on that happening, what was really happening up front too, that's going to alter some of the effects here on stage 16. As X was coming out of the roundabout, we back it in the middle there. Well, Alpecin de Koenig's, Mathieu van der Poel, Robbie Geese, and Jasper Philipsen, their sprinter, they were taking the sprinter from X off the wheel, Soren Vornskjold, that had that bike change that almost crashed into his teammate, back wheel change that almost crashed into his teammate, and on his wheels Alexander Kristoff, but they get pushed out of the way. Now Magnus Cort Nielsen pulls off the front, so that's leaving Rasmus Tiller on the front, Jonas Abrahamsen, Robbie Geese. We're going to see Mathieu van der Poel, and we got Jasper Philipsen, their sprinter, who's won 2 stages of the Tour de France in the 2024 season so far. So we back a little further up. Wout van Aert's a little out of place. He's too far back, but we look just behind Alpecin de Koenig and X. Well, we'll start seeing that Bahrain victorious Phil Bauerhaus is in good position, and we start seeing Pascal Ackermann in and around the spots up there too, and Sam Bennett. Now we go back up to the front as Magnus Cort Nielsen has started to pull off. Once we see Rasmus Tiller on the front, they're coming flying down the left side. We see Robbie Geese. He's on the right side there. X rider, that's Jonas Abrahamsen. He was wearing the KOM jersey and riding solo stages here at the Tour de France. Jonas Abrahamsen's leaning there on Robbie Geese, pushing him out of the way because he wants the wheel right up in front of him of Rasmus Tiller. The problem is, right now, for Abrahamsen, he doesn't understand that his sprinter's not on his wheel. His sprinter's behind Jasper Philipsen, but Rasmus Tiller's going full gas and just getting ready to blow. We come into just before 1 kilometer to go. Rasmus Tiller blows. Jonas Abrahamsen gets on the front. He's going full gas. We're hitting 1 kilometer to go. We got Jonas Abrahamsen on the lead. Robbie Geese, Mathieu van der Poel, Jasper Philipsen. Then X rider Soren Vornskjold, and their sprinter Alexander Kristoff. Behind them, Sam Bennett. But just between Alpecin de Koenig and X, well, right there, that's Phil Bauerhaus from Bahrain Victorious. So Bauerhaus has made the split here coming through that roundabout. Once we see the group is much smaller as the crash from Biniam Girmay has held up everybody, so it'll be same time for general classification. Now, coming under 1K to go, we look up front. Abrahamsen's throwing in a huge acceleration. He's going big time, 750 meters to go. He looks over his shoulder. He sees it's not his teammate, his sprinter on his wheel, but he's still going full gas with Robbie Geese on his wheel. As the rider up there that used to be the KOM jersey leader here in the first week of Tour de France, he's going all the way into about 525 meters to go. Then Robbie Geese explodes off of the X rider's wheel, going about 125 meters on the front as fast as he can with his lead out man, Mathieu van der Poel on his wheel, and Jasper Philipsen on him. Then we look at Phil Bauerhaus. Then we look at Soren Kragh Andersen. And the last guy there, X, that's Alexander Kristoff. Now we go back up to the front. Robbie Geese going all the way in. It's a chicane, right, left, right. That'll exit with 250 meters to go. Robbie Geese is blown just before we enter at about 410 meters to go. He blows, pulls off hard. It's time for Mathieu van der Poel to go to work. If you're sitting on the Chesterfield like I am, you're thinking this is game over. Mathieu van der Poel is going to have this delivered right here for Jasper Philipsen if he makes it through the chicane. He goes through the right, then he goes through the left, comes out the right there in the exact same order that they enter because Mathieu van der Poel's flying on the pedals. As Mathieu van der Poel comes out with 250 meters to go, we're going in about 225. We look further back. Soren Vornskjold started his sprint, but as he started his sprint, we're going to look up front. Jasper Philipsen sitting second wheel. He starts his sprint too at about 215 meters to go. Jasper Philipsen kicks it. When he kicks it, he goes to the left. He's flying up the left side. He's got Phil Bauerhaus from Bahrain Victorious on his wheel. Soren Vornskjold did a good job of bringing Alexander Kristoff up in the 3rd position, but everybody's legs are blowing as Jasper Philipsen's going full gas to the line. We look all the way over to the right. Wout van Aert, who came from like 10th position coming out of this exit, starting to move up on the right side, but the big guy from Belgium's got no legs against his compatriot on the front, Jasper Philipsen. As Philipsen's flying all the way to the line, he's going to win today's stage 16 of the Tour de France, his 3rd win. You see the camera focus back on his director sportif waving the three fingers out there as Jasper Philipsen crosses the line and gives a huge fist bump with the tongue hanging out of his mouth. 2nd on the stage, Phil Bauerhaus followed Jasper Philipsen all the way to the line. 3rd on the stage to round out the podium, Alexander Kristoff. Now Jasper Philipsen crosses the line, celebrates like I already told you, but once he stops, it smooches from his girlfriend and hugs from his teammates. Big time victory here for a 3rd stage win for Alpecin de Koenig. Magical job from Mathieu van der Poel. Now if I break down the tactics from Uno X, where'd they go wrong? They went wrong a lot of times. They were fantastic from 10 kilometers ago, controlling the front of the peloton the whole time. 10 wide, 5 wide at 5 kilometers ago, 2.5 kilometers ago. They're 2x2 with Lotto Destinies. My man Victor Campenaerts on the right side. Then we start getting into 1.6 when they're battling with Alpecin de Koenig, where Magnus Cort Nelson did a good job of holding up the train. But the problem is, once they came out of the roundabout, when they lost their lead out man for Alexander Kristoff and they got split off, Alexander Kristoff and Soren Vronskull, you cannot go behind the train of Alpecin de Koenig and have your teammate up there, Abra Hansen, just drilling it all the way into 525 meters to go. He even looked back at 700 meters to go, saw that you weren't on his wheel, and still kept pulling Alpecin de Koenig's Robbie Geese along with Mathieu van der Poel and Jasper Philipsen all the way into 525 meters to go, where Robbie Geese, the really specialist lead-out guy for Alpecin de Koenig, did a great job of dropping Mathieu van der Poel off just before the chicane started. There's no way you're coming around Mathieu van der Poel when his legs are starting to get sharper and sharper throughout the 24 Tour de France. And Jasper Philipsen, I've told you guys many times, he's getting better and better here at the Tour de France. So when you start looking at Uno X, once you came through that roundabout, the guys on the front had to sit up and get out of the way, make Robbie Geese lead it out from 1.3 all the way into the finish, or cause some chaos and bring them out of the way somehow, or Soren Kragh Andersen and Alexander Kristoff had to move up sooner to get up onto Abra Hansen's wheel. And Abra Hansen, when you're looking back at 700 plus meters to go and you see Alpecin de Koenig on your wheel, don't be a knucklehead and pull those guys all the way to finish. You've had a great Tour de France, but at 700 meters to go, you're a complete knucklehead here on stage 16. Now, when it's all said and done, like I said, the GC guys, nothing changed. We got Tadej Pogačar in the race leader's yellow jersey. Jonas Vingegaard sitting 2nd and Remco Evenepoel 3rd. What I didn't like about the interviews was Remco Evenepoel, where he said, I'm going to race conservatively and try to defend my podium spot here coming up on these next mountain stages. Intelligently to say that if you were trying to win the individual time trial. But the problem is, when we go back to that stage 9, the Gravelstone stage, Remco Evenepoel said he's got big balls. Today, he says he's just going to defend his podium spot here. It's a wise decision, I think, to defend the podium spot. But if you say you got big balls on stage 9, I don't think the word defend can ever come out of the Belgian rider's mouth again if you're at the 24 Tour de France. Now, the race leader's green jersey, Biniam Girmay. He finishes, crosses the line. He's got his 2 teammates wrapped around him. But, of course, he's hit his elbows, he's hit his knees, he's hit his hand. When he said in his interview, well, the main objective right now is finishing this year's Tour de France and getting across the line in Nice. So, good luck, Biniam Girmay. Hopefully the accident here didn't cause you any problems. Future, you got still not a solid point lead, but enough to where there's no more sprint stages left, where you should be able to wrap up the green jersey if you can get yourself to Nice okay, and if Jasper Philipsen doesn't find some climbing legs between now and, of course, the individual time trial finish in Nice for the 24 Tour de France. Good luck, Biniam Girmay. Good luck, Remco Evenepoel, defending with your big balls here at the 24 Tour de France. Now, one more thing before you guys go, and this is crucial. Hopefully you stuck around long enough to hear this for a 20-minute video. But I want to discuss Jonas Vingegaard and Tadej Pogačar as they come into the mountain stages. Jonas Vingegaard and Visma Lease Bike believe that they have dropped Tadej Pogačar in past mountain stages because of the power of putting the team on the front riding all day. Yes, it does take that. But I believe when we look at the last 2 Tour de France's, and especially even this year when we're talking about stage 11 that Jonas Vingegaard won against Tadej Pogačar, I think when you look at stage 11, Tadej Pogačar bonked. I think when you look at last year and you look at Col de Mary Blanc, stage 5 of the Tour de France, the stage that Jai Hindley won, well, when he bonked going up the Col de Mary Blanc there, Jonas Vingegaard gained time on. When he bonked again later and something went wrong after the individual time trial on stage 17, Tadej Pogačar was not getting blown off the back wheel there because Visma Bike's pressure put on him through that year's Tour de France. Tadej Pogačar had something physically wrong with him at that moment. Whether if he was sick, whether if he had some kind of issue earlier in the Tour de France that was now accumulated there on stage 17, Tadej Pogačar came off. We go into the 22 Tour de France when we go into stage 11, when we're talking about Col de Grenon, that magical stage 11. Tadej Pogačar bonked on that stage. If he had more calories, if he'd taken more ketones, if he'd had more Coca-Cola, more Snickers, something to add some more calories or some more energy into the body, he doesn't lose the race leader's yellow jersey on stage 11. Throughout each of the last 2 Tour de France's and this year here at the Tour de France, Jonas Vingegaard has only been able to drop Tadej Pogačar, in my mind, what I believe anyways, because Tadej Pogačar had something go bad with him, not because of the speed and effort there from Visma Bike. Of course, Visma Bike put pressure on Tadej Pogačar and kept the pace going fast, but when Tadej Pogačar is getting dropped early into stage 17 at last year's Tour de France, something else is going wrong. In fact, I'll go on the record as saying right here on the butterfly effect that Jonas Vingegaard has only truly dropped Tadej Pogačar on stage 16 of the individual time trial at last year's 23 Tour de France. That stage was the most remarkable. When we look at stage 15 of this year's Tour de France and the interviews from Jonas Vingegaard saying he pulled the best numbers he's ever pulled, I bet the individual time trial of last year's Tour de France on stage 16 was the absolute best numbers he's ever pulled throughout a Grand Tour in his life. And now he's pulling good numbers. Tadej Pogačar is pulling better. Jonas Vingegaard and Visma Bike need to put pressure on Tadej Pogačar. But the reason they need to put pressure on Tadej Pogačar is to hope that the Slovenian makes a mistake like he has done in 22 and 23 Tour de France and this year on stage 11 of the Tour de France, where the chaos, the pressure of the speed, the ability to not have Tadej Pogačar focus throughout the stage, where he forgets to eat, he forgets to drink, he forgets to do the calories he needs to have the energy in his legs at the finish of the stages. But if Tadej Pogačar does everything correct in the next 5 stages here, the Tour de France, the Slovenian cannot get dropped from Jonas Vingegaard because his power is greater than the Visma Bike train and Jonas Vingegaard trying to finish it off at the end of the stages. Visma Bike have an ideal of what it takes to drop Tadej Pogačar, but they believe that Jonas Vingegaard gets better than Tadej Pogačar as each of the mountains pass. I believe Tadej Pogačar, because of the chaos from Visma Bike, stops paying attention to the important details of hydrating, eating, and then bonks on the later parts of the stages, and that makes Jonas Vingegaard look like he's better than Tadej Pogačar. But in fact, it's just the chaos of the stage that Tadej Pogačar, the young Slovenian, forgets something. This year at the Tour de France, though, with the exception of stage 11 at the Tour de France, Tadej Pogačar has not forgotten anything throughout all the stages, and we've seen remarkable rides from Tadej Pogačar and both Jonas Vingegaard. In the next few mountain stages here, for sure, Visma Bike's going to put pressure on Tadej Pogačar, but they're going to have to hope that Tadej Pogačar and UAE team members have some miscalculation again with calories, hydration, heat issues, or whatever it is. But that's what causes the Slovenian to lose the Tour de France the last 2 editions. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next edition of the Butterfly Effect real soon as we get ready for stage 17 of the Tour de France back in the mountains. Like and subscribe. I'll see you real soon. Good?